Ms Benham.
Thank you, Chair. Afternoon, Minister.
Hello, Ms Benham.
I just want to get some clarity around the homelessness and the big build situation.
Yes.
You'd agree with the announcement today that there's 66,117 families on the waiting list that are homeless?
No.
You disagree with that?
Yes.
Okay. You do agree, though, that you've invested $3 billion into the housing program to build 2,600 homes?
No.
No, you don't agree with that either?
Sorry,
That would be then at a cost of $1.15 million per home.
No. I'll take you through gross and net increases if you like.
So building homes, 2,600 homes in 4 years.
Net increase of 5,859 homes since the commencement of the big housing build. That's part of an 11,575 increase of new homes added to the social housing stock count.
So the list that we're working from was the list that was your own list. Where can we find that published?
The social housing wait list.
You know where it is?
Yes.
Yes. So what I'm happy to do is take you through the start of your question referred to people experiencing homelessness.
The 66,000 families.
So firstly, people who are looking for social housing aren't necessarily homeless.
Okay, so there's the announcement today.
Secondly, and I'll take you through to the housing wait list. Secondly, the housing wait list is broken into two components. There are people who are already in the housing system looking for a transfer applications they're known as. There's 10,564 applications from people who are already living in social housing.
That's the transfer list?
Yes.
How many are waiting for housing?
So there are 55,553 new priority and register of interest applications from people seeking a rental in social housing. So they're described as new applications. But allocations to social housing actually increased by 37% in the last 2 years. So in the last 2 years, we've had 7,626 allocations in 23-24 compared to 5,553 allocations. And as at March, the total number of new applications on that wait list decreased by 4.6% from March 23. And the growth in the housing wait list is actually about 0.9% based on the most recent data, as compared to about 3% in New South Wales. So we're seeing this all over Australia, but we do know that what we're doing to bring new stock online is working.
So you do think that the homelessness crisis is improving?
No. I think the volume of homes that we are bringing online are assisting people in greatest need. And the work goes on, Ms Benham. There's no finish line when it comes to homelessness.
Of course not, but it's getting worse at a rate of 2,000 families per quarter.
So as at March this year, with those same figures, the priority list decreased by 3.1%. But we know that demand for social housing is driven by a really complex set of factors. That's not just here in Victoria, it's around Australia. And we also know that the investments that we've made through the $5.3 billion big housing build and the $1 billion regional housing package will deliver at least 13,300 new social housing homes. But as we develop...
When will that be delivered?
It's being delivered progressively. We've got 10,100 homes that have either been complete or in construction or in planning. And we continue to announce new homes every day, Ms Benham. Every day, 8 new homes are completed under the big housing.
So therefore there must be a target date when that project will be complete.
2028.
2028. So, okay. I'm going to move on to a slightly different topic. As far as and budget reference here is budget paper 4, page 132. Mm-hmm. As far as Aboriginal Family Violence Refuge for the Wimmera, the southwest area.
Yes.
That was a new program in 21-22, promising $4.7 million to be spent by 2023. The current budget shows it's only has spent $493,000. So why has only around 10% of the Aboriginal Family Violence Refuge funding been spent in 3 years?
Bear with me, Ms Benham. So there are 22 refuges being built as part of what is called a core and cluster model across Victoria, and as you would appreciate, the Family Violence Royal Commission into family, well, that work and those 227 recommendations did go specifically to cluster style facilities. That was about providing independent units and also that on-site and built-in support. We know that, again, people experiencing family violence often have very complex needs, and they also want to stay connected. So to date, 16 refuges have been completed and are in operation across a range of urban and regional and
Just to bring you back to
rural
the
locations.
Horsham project in particular, there's
Yep.
only been $493,000 spent in 3 years. Can you please give us an update as to why that is the case and why that 3 years seems like plenty of time to have that project complete?
Yeah, so this is the Aboriginal Family Violence Refuge for the Wimmera West area. So this is like the facility in Warrnambool, being designed and planned with an Aboriginal community-controlled organisation, so that's Gulum Gulum. We do want to make sure that we're prioritising self-determination, and that means that the way in which that housing is delivered has to take place in partnership with Aboriginal community-controlled organisations. And this is where there's been a cultural brief that has been developed by women in the community to drive the design of that work. And it's also on a large site. And Homes Victoria is looking at how to use the rest of that site in a complementary way to the use of the refuge. And tenders for an architect are currently being evaluated.
Okay, so no one disagrees that it has to be culturally safe and self-determination. No one disagrees with that. But shouldn't the priority be getting that refuge built and putting a roof over people's heads? And 3 years is an extremely long time.
Ms Benham, I don't ever underestimate the acuity of need for some of the most vulnerable Victorians in often extremely distressing and traumatic circumstances to find accommodation.
So is your priority then to get this built as soon as possible?
Well, as I said, we've got tenders for an architect in the process of being evaluated. I'm not going to go through that process that's currently subject to consideration, but what I will say is that we have invested with determination and purpose into assisting one of the greatest causes of homelessness, not just through the family violence portfolios, but also through a range of other portfolios. I'm not sure whether you've spoken with colleagues about this, but the targets, again, 1,000 homes for
So you would think
for
it would be a
people.
priority?
Thank you, Minister.
I've just said, Ms Benham, it is absolutely a priority. My apologies, Chair, for interrupting you.